Good morning. Thank everyone for being here. As we continue to make public safety our highest priority in the city of Houston, and while we are building up our department personnel, we're at 5,400, highest certified peace officers in HPD's history, with over 1,000 new officers since I've been sworn in. Chief Diaz, thank you for your leadership. But while we're building up the department and making the city safer, we also have task of looking for offenders from previous years. And that's the purpose of this news conference this morning, to let the public know that there are cold cases referred to, dangerous individuals that have been on city streets for years, and either lack of maybe morale, or maybe lack of technology, and maybe the lack of the team that stands behind me. But I'm going to leave it to the professional crime fighters to discuss this particular cold case. But I want Houstonians to know we don't rest. The rank and file of HPD and DPS, our friends in the Texas Rangers, the FBI, our district attorney, it's all hands on deck, around the clock, 7 days a week. And we're getting results to get a violent repeat offender off the streets of Houston where they need to be in jail. So I'm here this morning primarily to recognize the rank and file that have made this case and this vicious individual held accountable. We urge our courts, our judges, to recognize the danger when they review a bond or conditions that they release someone out on. I'll be in the Vietnamese community this afternoon with Mr. Lee's family that was brutally killed after being released on a mental health plan. Judges, we're doing our work, and we urge you, the good judges, to do your review and make tough decisions about who should be returned to the streets of our community. And of course, it's not just Houston, it's our surrounding jurisdictions. We thank our constables, we thank the adjoining county sheriffs, police forces. Ladies and gentlemen, we're solving crime by working together. And while I want to talk and give shout outs to the improvements, we still have a lot of work to do. It's going to be very painful to be with the Lee family this afternoon. They just don't understand. And that particular crime, vicious beating, destroyed his brain, occurred in Harris County, outside the city of Houston. So while I'm the mayor of the city of Houston, I will work with anyone that will improve public safety and fight crime. Let me ask Judge Diaz, not quite Judge Diaz, but Chief Diaz to come forward and go over the operations that brought this dangerous individual to court.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I can't thank you enough for showing up today and helping us get this message out. First, I want to commend the dedication of the investigators and the strong partnerships that led to the arrest of Philip Cerf here to my right. Without the relationships among all the agencies involved in this complex investigation, we wouldn't be standing here today. This investigation represents years of collaboration among the Houston Police Department Special Victims Divisions, Adult Sex Crime Unit, the Texas Rangers, the Houston Forensic Science Center, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Bodie Technology DNA Lab in North Texas, and the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Every agency here today played an important role in moving this investigation forward. The arrest made in this case is a significant milestone, but the investigation will continue as detectives continue reviewing information. Today's announcement is about accountability, but it's also about the victims. We can't forget the victims. This case demonstrates why cold cases are not forgotten. These investigations remained active because the victims had the courage to report these crimes and participate in the investigative process. We believe that there are potential other victims who were sexually assaulted by Philip Cerf. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact the Houston Police Department. I'd like to add a thank you to then Senator John Whitmire, now Mayor Whitmire, who was the gatekeeper as the chair of the Senate Criminal Justice Committee, who laid the groundwork for today's comprehensive tracking systems, submission deadlines, and laboratory timelines as it relates to these sexual assault kits. I pledge that we will remain committed to pursuing every lead, supporting survivors, and seeking justice regardless of how much time has passed. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chief Menendez Sierra, who will provide more information about the case's investigation. Luis?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor, and everyone else who's involved in this. It was truly a team effort. And I would really like to thank my special victims team, Detective Harrington, who's behind me, led by Sergeant Sanchez, Lieutenant Davis, and the captain of the Special Victims Division, Captain Lorenzana. Between 1997 and 2016, 4 sexual assaults occurred in North Houston. Each case was investigated, and detectives never stopped looking for answers. However, it wasn't until recently, with advances in forensic sciences, that a suspect was identified. In each case, the survivors underwent forensic sexual assault examinations, also known as sexual assault kits. The first known incident occurred on June 29, 1997. The survivor accepted a ride from the suspect near Deep Reese and West Little York. He then drove her to another location where he sexually and physically assaulted her. On April 9, 2009, another individual reported she was picked up near her home on Prairie View Street. She told investigators that the suspect drove her to another location where she was also sexually and physically assaulted. On June 22, 2013, a third survivor was approached by the suspect, who offered her a ride home and drove her to another location where she was sexually and physically assaulted. The fourth known incident occurred on July 3, 2016. The survivor was approached by the suspect while walking home from a gas station near the East X Freeway. Again, she was taken to another location and sexually and physically assaulted. In all 4 cases, DNA evidence was collected, preserved, and entered into the CODIS system. Although the offender was not identified at the time, that evidence would later become critical in solving these cases. The Texas Department of Public Safety Rangers, through the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, also known as SAKI, conducted a comprehensive review of CODIS offender hits. This led to identifying all case-to-case DNA matches within CODIS, and the review identified these 4 sexual assault investigations sharing the same unknown DNA profile. By comparing reports, forensic evidence, witness statements, and investigative findings across multiple cases, detectives identified significant similarities that ultimately led to the identification of the suspect, Philip G. Cerf. Since the charging of the suspect, we have already been contacted by a possible victim from 1988. Investigators are currently following up with that victim. We also learned from the investigation that the suspect may have driven trucks throughout the United States. So it is crucial that this information is disseminated so we may be able to find any other possible victims. I am now going to let the FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jason Hudson, who will discuss their involvement in the investigation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jason Hudson. I'm the Special Agent in charge of the FBI Houston Division. Today is about getting justice for the victims of these heinous crimes and for their families. My sincerest hope is that the recent developments in this case are a positive step in the healing and the closure for these victims. I've got to recognize Chief Diaz and the Houston Police Department. It's because of their relentless pursuit of justice for these victims is the reason that we are all here today. FBI Houston is proud to be a part of this investigation, proud to be standing up here this morning. I want to talk a little bit about our role in this investigation. The FBI supported this investigation through our investigative genetic genealogy team, which is right here in Houston, Texas. This team is a team of dedicated agents and analysts that do a tremendous amount of work to bring violent crimes to a resolution. They provide assistance to our law enforcement partners on violent crime cases after reasonable investigative leads have been exhausted. It's at that time that they begin to do their work, and this is primarily on cold case homicides and cold case sex crimes. The goal of IGG, as we call it, is to bring violent criminals to justice and to identify unknown victims in the hopes of giving their families some type of closure. Most people probably know that the FBI oversees the DNA index system that is used across the country and is also used across the globe these days, and it's called CODIS, as was referenced earlier. Oftentimes in cases like this, DNA samples can link a series of violent crimes together, but there is no positive identification in the system for the DNA profile. This can cause cases like this to go on unsolved for years and sometimes decades. But our IGG team use publicly accessible genealogy services to ID potential family members of the unknown suspect profile. Our investigators go through a tedious process of creating family trees of persons that are identified as being relatives to the potential suspect. By building the family tree of these persons identified as potential relatives, we hope that somewhere on that tree our perpetrator exists. Using information such as witness descriptions of the suspect, the location, and the timing of the crime, FBI personnel try to identify a likely suspect within that family tree. Only then do we seek a comparison between the potential suspect's DNA and the DNA from the crime scene. I want to be very, very clear. The FBI is only able to see information that users have given genealogy services the permission to share with other customers. We cannot and we do not violate privacy expectations or agreements. Arrests are not made solely on the IGG team's leads. There must be a direct comparison between the crime scene DNA and the DNA from the potential suspect. This technique was used to ID the suspect in this investigation. Advancements in technology and techniques using DNA are giving the FBI and our law enforcement partners the ability to identify and arrest violent criminals who have been hiding from justice, sometimes years, sometimes decades. This should serve as a warning. We will not stop looking for you. This recent arrest is a significant step towards justice for the victims in this case, those who have come forward and those who have yet to come forward. FBI Houston, along with Houston Police Department, believes there may be other victims in this case, and we are starting to identify other victims in this case. If you are, please come forward. We know it might be difficult to do so, but it's important, and you deserve justice. Thank you.
Muy buenos días, soy el asistente jefe Luis Menéndez. Ahorita voy a hacer la explicación en español. Quiero comenzar agradeciendo a todo el equipo que hizo posible este arresto. En especial quiero reconocer al alcalde John Whitmire y el jefe de policía J. Noe Díaz. Entre los años de 1997 y 2016 se registraron 4 agresiones sexuales en el norte de la ciudad de Houston. Desde el primer día, cada uno de estos casos fue investigado a fondo. Aunque en ese momento no fue posible identificar al agresor, los detectives nunca dejaron de buscar respuestas. Gracias a los avances en la ciencia forense, hoy podemos decir que finalmente se logró identificar a un sospechoso. En los 4 casos, las sobrevivientes sometieron a exámenes forenses por agresión sexual, conocidos como kits de evidencia de agresión sexual. Esa evidencia fue cuidadosamente preservada y años después resultó ser la pieza clave para resolver estos casos. El primer caso ocurrió el 29 de junio de 1997. El segundo caso ocurrió el 9 de abril de 2009. El tercer incidente ocurrió el 22 de junio de 2013. Y el cuarto caso ocurrió el 3 de julio de 2016. Los 4 casos tenían la misma operación donde el sospechoso recogía a estas sobrevivientes, las llevaba a otro lugar y ahí pues abusaba de ellas sexualmente y físicamente. En los 4 casos se obtuvo evidencia de ADN, la cual fue preservada y ingresada al sistema CODIS. Aunque en ese momento no se conocía la identidad del agresor, esa evidencia permaneció disponible y con el paso del tiempo se convirtió en la clave para resolver estas investigaciones. Los Rangers del Departamento de Seguridad Pública de Texas, a través de la iniciativa de Kits de Agresión Sexual, conocida como SAKI, realizaron una revisión exhaustiva de las coincidencias de ADN registradas en CODIS. Esa revisión permitió descubrir que los 4 casos compartían el mismo perfil genético. Al comparar los informes, la evidencia forense, las declaraciones de testigos y todos los agalazos de las investigaciones, los detectives lograron establecer la identificación del sospechoso Philip G. Cerf. Desde que presentaron los cargos contra Cerf, ya fuimos contactados por una persona que podría haber sido víctima de una agresión ocurrida en el 1988. Nuestros investigadores ya están dando seguimiento a esa información. Además, durante la investigación descubrimos que el sospechoso pudo haber trabajado como conductor de camiones de carga y haber recorrido distintas partes de los Estados Unidos. Por eso es tan importante compartir esta información con el público. Existe la posibilidad de que hayan otras víctimas que aún no hayan sido identificadas. Y queremos que sepa que estamos aquí para escucharlas y para buscar justicia. Now we will take any questions. Romero, preguntas si tienen. I'll defer to my bosses.
¿Cuándo fue arrestado el sospechoso?
22nd, right, of July, the arrest? 20 el 22 de julio.
¿Sabes si ya enfrenta ahorita algún proceso? Ya fue al juez? ¿Ya hay alguna fianza? ¿Continúa?
Sí, ahorita la última vez que chequeé no había fianza, sí, pero sí ya había presentado el juez.
¿A dónde pueden las personas reportar si piensan que son víctimas de este?
Les pedimos que llamen la División de Aspectos Sexuales de Adultos al 713-308-1180. Yeah, he was asking if, when he was arrested, I believe it was July 22nd, if that's correct. Also asked if we had a number to contact for the complainants to contact. That's 713-308-1180. That is our Adult Sex Crimes Unit of the Special Victims Division.
What made investigators reopen the case?
It's not so much a reopening as far as we began to get CODIS hits, which started linking the 4 cases. At that time, our partners with the FBI and we all got kind of together and started working on the case, which led to the identification of the suspect.
And what led them to surveillance, sir?
It's what our FBI director kind of mentioned regarding the IgG technology. Through that investigation of the family tree, we identified actually 2 possible suspects. One was eliminated through investigative efforts, and the other one we were able to identify through DNA.
I'm sure some of our viewers may be wondering what took so long. So, like, what was the timeline of basically why it took this amount of time?
Yeah, it's a classic cold case incident. You know how we like to watch those on TV, right? Cold case. And sometimes we just don't have the lead for whatever reason, like the mayor mentioned. And then once we get that advancement in technology, which is what really helped us on this one, we were able to connect all 4 cases and proceed. And I strongly believe that we have more cases involved.
Speaking of that, is there anything that you can say about his MO or the locations of where he's coming these women that might spark someone's memory to help them?
All 4 cases appeared to occur during the late hours at night. All 4 females were walking from one location to another. They were approached, provided or offered a ride. At that point, once they got into the vehicle, they were taken to another location where they were sexually assaulted. They were all in the north part of Houston. North and northeast is our patrol districts, but North Houston is where they all occurred.
Have you oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Have you confirmed that the 1988 case that recently a victim contacted HPD about, is she confirmed that she was a victim?
No, that just, she contacted us after seeing the picture. One of the news had released that booking photo and advised that she believed that was a male that had sexually assaulted her. Our detectives are just in the initial phases of following up with her and finding out if we can tie him to that one as well.
You had mentioned he might have been a trucker, I think?
Correct.
Did he pick up these women allegedly in a ATV?
No, not the local cases. We do know that we traced him back to being up, he grew up in that area, so he knew that area well.
And he had never been arrested in a way that he was required to give his DNA to authorities.
Correct, he had multiple arrests, but none sexually assaulted related.
And just to be clear, this isn't a case where kits were sitting on a shelf. What you're saying is that these women completed the kits and the kits were tested. There's just no suspect to match them to.
Correct, and the first link that we got was just a case-to-case link. It wasn't a connection to an actual person. All 4 cases connected from the profiles that were already in the system saying, hey, this is the same suspect as these 3 other cases.
Not to get too far afield, but something similar happened with Perot recently in the Lover's Lane case. There was some DNA for victims, but not his DNA.
Correct.
Only more recently came.
Correct.
Has he been to court?
I believe he's already had his court date. He stands at no bond, if I'm correct.
Is he facing any additional charges as of today, or is it still the 2 charges, I believe?
We were able to charge him in 2 cases through the DA's office. There might be a pending, and then, of course, if anybody reaches out to us, we'll investigate those and hopefully charge him with additional charges.
¿Podría repetir eso en español? ¿Cuántos cargos hasta ahora enfrenta?
Ahorita solamente está cargado en el caso de 2009 y el 2013. Ojalá es que, pues, si hay más víctimas, ponerle más cargos en esos casos.
¿Podría compartir cuál era el patrón de este individuo? ¿Sus víctimas eran de alguna raza en específico?
No, no había nada específico y las edades de las víctimas eran diferentes. Obviamente, si él empezó en 1988, ha estado haciendo esto por mucho tiempo, pero nada que habían 3 y una diferentes razas, son nada que señala que tenía un patrón así de como eso es lo que buscaba él.
Can you say that in English?
¿Dentro de las víctimas había menores de edad?
No, no había menores de edad. Yeah, there was no particular, there was different races involved in the victims, so nothing that, and different ages as well, so nothing that he was like targeting a certain specific age or race.
What specifically led investigators to believe there could be more victims outside of these 4 cases?
Just the span of the occurrences of all the cases, just the fact that we had one from 1997 and there was a break in between those, so we usually believe that there might be more. And then obviously once that arrest was made, we already got in calls from the possible 1988 case, so we strongly believe that not only here locally, but hopefully not, but there might be some throughout the United States if he was a truck driver.
How long was he a truck driver for?
He advised us that maybe he drove for about 16 years, 10 years throughout the nation and 6 years locally.
Can you tell us about your unit? How many people are actually working these cold cases? How many people do you have?
So right now for sexual assault cases, there's 2 dedicated personnel to cold cases, and then we have a homicide division that does cold case murders as well. Always could use more people, but it's what we've dedicated to now. Sexual assault's a little more complicated than murder cases just because of the evidence and trying DNA, and there's sexual assault kits, and
Do you know how many old unsolved sexual assault cases?
I don't have that number, sir. No.
Okay, last question. I do have a question, but this is on a separate note for the chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Might be available real quick.
Sure.
So Chief, my understanding is today, HPD, what we wanted to know, is there like an internal affairs investigation that's being conducted into the Abraham Boozwig's death following the July 1st pursuit? My understanding is family is here in the building right now, or were this morning, parents were gonna be watching some dash cam camera a video that would be made available to the public, if you could.
Well, that's standard in any kind of event like that, so the family is here completing the critical incident procedure that we have in place, so that's why the family is here.
Will the dash cam video be made public and when?
Within the 30-day window that we traditionally have.
Is there any additional details you can
was, again, is still under investigation, so I kind of want to comment outside of that investigative window to make sure that the process is fair to everyone involved. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for coming.